Philo, and I am with you today for another episode in the How to Use the Caregiver Notebook vlog series here at differentdream.com. I am the author of the Caregiver's Notebook, and I'm also a former teacher, and so I know that some people like to just open the notebook and turn to whatever section they're going to work on and look at the written directions and just go through them to learn how to use it, and that's fine with them. Other people prefer to have somebody to talk it through with and to kind of look over and discuss and think about each section a little bit. It works better for them. So that's why I'm doing this series, because I want to make things as easy as I can for you, because you are a caregiver, and caregiving, though it is good work, probably the best work any of us will ever do, it's also very demanding and difficult work. So the more I can do to support you, the more I want to do. Today, I believe, is episode 6, and we are going to be looking at the medication section of the notebook. So if you have one, you can just open it up and flip to that tab. And as you will see, there are some directions there for you, which you can read through again at your leisure, but we'll kind of go through things together right now. This medication section is one that I wish I had had a long time ago. My most active role as a caregiver now is for my mother. She lives with my brother and his wife, and my sister-in-law happens to be a doctor. So she's the one that pretty much takes care of Mom's medications, and she and my brother order all of Mom's medications. But because they're at work during the day, I'm usually the one that takes her to her doctor's appointments. And what's the first thing that the doctors do when you talk to them? They want to go over the medications that one of their patients is taking. And so I'm in with my mom, and she has early stage Alzheimer's. She has no idea of what her medication list is, except in the very vaguest terms. And because I am not actively involved in the medications part of her caregiving, I have no idea either, except I know the names of a few of the things she takes, but I have no idea of dosages or how long she takes them or when she takes them or anything like that. So just recently I had to take Mom for an appointment, and her doctor was going through the medications list, medication after medication, speaking directly to my mom, and my mom was nodding her head going, "Yep, that's right, that's what I take." And I knew that Mom had absolutely no idea. I really wish I had asked my sister-in-law long beforehand to write out a list of Mom's medications. Well, now that we have the Caregiver's Notebook, I did ask her to do that, and so she, and I know this is kind of nice for me, but maybe not so nice for you, my sister-in-law went ahead and filled out the first form in the medication section. And this form, this very first form, is just a listing of the different medications. There's a column for the name of the medication, a next column for the dosage, and you can find that on the label of the medication bottle. The number of times per day it's supposed to be taken, and the time of day. So twice a day, morning and night, 3 times a day with meals, something like that. And the reason for the medication. Why are they taking it? Just a brief description. The box isn't big enough for a lot on that column. And again, remember to fill this in with pencil so that if the dosage ever changes or anything, you can change that without having to use whiteout or fill in a new line. There are charts on the front and back of one page for this medication list, and for many people this medication list may be all you need, depending on how many medications your loved one takes. Now, it is important to remember that you should be putting down more than just prescription medications. Prescription medications, yes, but if your loved one takes an aspirin a day to help avoid high blood pressure or stroke, that should be written down. If there are any herbal supplements, vitamins, minerals, a lot of women have to take calcium with vitamin D, be sure those are in, and any herbal remedies. If I was doing one now, I would want to write down that I take 4 drops of oregano oil in the morning because it helps with sinus issues. Now that's just an herbal remedy. I can pick it up at a natural food store. But all of those kinds of things need to be listed because some of them may react with other medications, and so the doctor needs a complete listing. Now, as I said, simple list may be all that you need for your loved one. But if you want to keep a little bit better track of what's going on with your loved one, or especially if you're just beginning the caregiving journey and it's pretty easy to keep track of things right now, I would encourage you to go on to the medication notes section. Now this section is created to look a lot like the label of a prescription bottle. And there's a reason for that. It's because all of the information in each of these boxes in the medication notes is a place for you to record all the information that is on the prescription bottle. It goes into a little bit more detail than the listing of the previous 2 pages. So it gives you a start and end date. Very important if you're dealing with perhaps just an infection and need antibiotic, but you need to know the start and end date. Can you see how important this would be if you have recurring infections? Because then you would have a record of this. Again, then you have a place for the medication. There's even a box if it's a generic medication that you can check that off and make sure you write the generic name. There's room for dosage, frequency, the pharmacy where it was received, the prescription number, which will be on the prescription label, a description of the medication. You can even describe it. It's a little round blue pill, or it's a red and white capsule, or it's a white oblong pill with the letter T embossed on it. Whatever you want. The prescribing doctor can be written down. Again, this would be really good if you were going to an ER for an unexpected trip and you wanted to have that doctor's name to look back at your primary care physician, so that primary care physician gets the entire history. Purpose of the medication, side effects can be listed, the number of refills, that can be pretty important. You want to get that one down. And then the quantity to order when you reorder. There are several pages. There's room for 3 different medications per page, and there are several pages, and I did that on purpose because, as you remember, this is a 3-year notebook, and in 3 years a person can have lots and lots of prescriptions. So I wanted to have plenty of room if you've got someone who has lots of prescriptions to write that down. The final form in this medication section is a medication pickup and payment record. And again, it's just a series of rows and columns. And if you are in a situation where more than one person has to go and pick up the medication for the person, for your loved one, maybe it's one of the duties that maybe you have a nurse or a nurse's assistant that comes in frequently, and one of the duties is that that person picks up the medication, or you and your spouse take turns, or for whatever reason. You can record who has picked up the medication when and keep a running tally on everything. In the first line, you just put, or in the first column goes the date, the second column is the medication, then whoever picked it up writes their name or signs their initials, the pharmacy where it was picked up, the payment method, and the amount paid. Now you might also want to put on here somewhere with medication if it's only a partial fill. Sometimes they don't have enough of the medicine, you get a partial fill. So you might want to note that there, and when somebody's supposed to go and pick up the rest of that prescription. Now if you put the amount paid and the payment method in those last 2 columns, one of the nice things about these forms, and I think there are 4 pages of them, is at the end of the year you can just tally up and you will have a record of how much you have paid for medications that is ready for your tax form. So it's kind of a nice stress reliever that way if you want to fill that out. Again, you need to decide in your situation with your loved one how many of these forms you need to use and how completely you want to use them. But if you're dealing with a very complex situation and a lot of different caregivers, you will really want to rely on this section to make sure that your loved one's medication needs are being taken care of and nobody drops the ball. Well, that's it for this time. Again, this may take you a little bit to get completed. You may need a week or 2 to do it. But that's the beauty of these vlogs. They will be housed here on differentdream.com forever. So if you want to come back in a few weeks and watch the next one after you've got the medication section filled out, that's just fine. Just work through the book at your own leisure in your time frame, and don't let any of this stress you out. The purpose of the notebook is to relieve your stress, not make more. So if you're feeling a little bit stressed right now about how to find out all this medication stuff, before we leave, let's take a deep breath in deep breath in and out. In and out.